going to dive into some very important books today. Join me as I go through our 9th grade school year curriculum. Welcome to Shine Bright Homeschool. I'm Kira. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm excited to give you an overview of our 9th grade school year curriculums. We'll see, everything's kind of new this year. There is some stuff that I've used from companies that I've bought curriculums from before, like MasterBooks, like Abeka, like IEW. But I've never heard anyone's opinion about these specific curriculums, so that's why I'm here to give you my specific opinion of what it looks like in the beginning. So I'm here to give you a quick review of what we're going to use, and then in my next video I will start going through some of these books individually, so that way you can take a deeper look inside, because sometimes online it's kind of hard to know what you're actually buying. The sample pages are decent, but sometimes just going through it and looking through it yourself is so much better. So hey, I'm your next best thing here on YouTube. So let's dive in today to our first group of books, which is actually for literature. Now, it has been a while since we have done Abeka. However, I am not the best at literature. I'm not the best at English language arts really at all. However, I really did enjoy my younger days of being homeschooled using Abeka for parts of English, only because I felt like language arts could just get very dry. The past couple years we've done some different literature and I have not liked it. It just hasn't flown well with me. And because my son went to a prep school, it wasn't all on me. So it was okay, but I really was like, what can I do that I can kind of enjoy too? My best memories of Abeka is the literature books, because they always had a mixture of styles and poems and short stories. I'm going to show you that this year I decided to go with the themes literature book. Now, if you know anything about Abeka, you probably already know how they do things, so this may be no surprise to you. Here in the book, they have units, and it's kind of breaking down where you have a theme for each unit, and then you're basically looking at the author here. So they're basically like doing themes. So the first unit is truth and wisdom. So they get, a short story or a portion of a book in here for a longer read. And they do have questions at the end because they want to go over your reading and comprehension, which I kind of like. I remember doing that, and although I don't remember anything too much that I read, in the moment it was really good to know that when I would go to do a test or a quiz that I would have a little bit more of an awareness of the questions. This is kind of like a shorter poem right here, and in the bottom it gives the definition for like simile, metaphor, those things, so you can explain those to your student. Quickly at the bottom it just shows the authors here and kind of gives you a little bit of information about them, when they were born, when they died, and just a little bit about their story and how they got started writing. So yeah, I'm not going to go through this in detail in this video, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea kind of what it looks like, and just the mixture of different stories, which I think keeps it kind of fresh. So yeah, this is the literature book that we're using for 9th grade. And then I actually bought these on eBay, the answer key. And this is for the think it through for the questions in the book. And then I also just got a test and quiz booklet as well. Next is going to be science. And I decided to do the applied engineering science, which is good for 7th through 9th grade. This is a MasterBooks science that we have not utilized yet. And I know there were some other options for 9th grade science. However, I really took a look at what we have used already for science, what we've gone over, and what we haven't, and also what would just kind of like break it up, because I know going into high school there's going to be a chemistry, there's going to be a biology, there's going to be a more in-depth study in science from now on. So this is probably going to be the last easier science, but it does talk about applied engineering, which I like, because as we go into biology, as we go into chemistry, to me there's going to be more of an understanding of why kind of things are the way they are. Why are they created a certain way? So this is the work booklet. Obviously, it has the normal worksheets of MasterBooks, style, science, and history, and all that. So we are going to look into this in another video as well. But the books that come with it are 3 books. So there's this little one, which is Men of Science and Men of God. So it's great scientists who believe in the Bible. And it's a small little book made by Dr. Henry Morris, which I've heard of some of his writings before. So he's deemed as the father of modern creationism. And so he has a lot of really good, excellent stories in here of different inventors and men of God who, what they did. Short little readings, basically, if you can kind of see that. And that's kind of, it's a quick read, it won't be anything big, but I know there's a lot more names out there other than the main ones like Sir Isaac Newton and a lot of the other common ones that we hear. There's a lot more scientists that have made huge steps in seeking the things out that we know today as common knowledge, but really they were the ones that sought it out first. So I really want my son to know about those. The next one is The Discovery of Design. This is searching out the creator's secrets. This one looked really interesting to me because it talks about science advances over the decades that point to something of God in each thing. This is a very easy read. So we're not doing a lot when it comes to science this year, but it's really about the depth of it in thinking about it and going into, again, chemistry and biology. There's going to be a lot to learn, so I didn't want to jump in this year and make it quite overwhelming. So anyways, it goes into the different topics: microorganisms, insects, flight, underwater life, land animals, people, vegetation, and non-living objects. And then in each thing, as you look inside, insects, lightning bugs, and how there's something about them that we've taken to create light sticks. So there's just all sorts of different examples in here. So like a kingfisher, what do a kingfisher and a bullet train have in common? I really like that because I like seeing the things of nature and understanding how God puts it in the minds and the hearts of men to create things from the ideas of God's creation. And then lastly is this Made in Heaven. This is actually a book from Ray Comfort, if you know who he is. Man's indiscriminate stealing of God's amazing design. Kind of ties into the book we just did, I believe. One of the things in here is like stronger than Kevlar, spider web strong, or cleaning like a lotus leaf, or the human eye better than camera lens, decoding the bombardier beetle, fins for fans, termites and air-conditioned buildings. Here it talks about like the body armor of the future, strength of fish scales, and so it has some really great pictures and things in here that kind of talk about basically getting ideas for armor from fish scales. Again, that's from MasterBooks. I'll link it down below. For history, this is a big one, as you can see. This is also from MasterBooks. This is For You, They Signed. And this is a breakdown of different people who basically wrote the important documents of our country and who they were, what states they came from. So like this is kind of what it looks like. Basically the person and the information about them, and it goes through all the different ones. The worksheets are basically a part of the lessons inside, so there isn't a separate book. It does talk a little bit about, let's say, their political stance, depending on, who they were and where they lived, and just different things that it takes under consideration there. We've already actually did The Good and the Beautifuls look at the breakdown of the Constitution and all that, which I have on my channel if you want to look at that. So this is very different. This is not something 100% like we've done before. It is a pretty big handful of a book, a lot of information to go through. So I think it would be good transitioning, being that it's our first year of high school, kind of doing this. And then we'll just have to see for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade what I decide to do. Yes, we're doing that for history. This is called Elements of Faith. This is actually could be used as a science, but I'm not using it as that. I'm actually going to be tying parts of this information though into the science that I already showed you in applied engineering, because this is creation-based journey through the periodic table. I have tried to do different types of Bible lessons from Apologia and other great ones, as you've probably seen on my channel. Review those curriculums, and they're great curriculums, but I felt like for my son that it would be better if I could connect it to some sort of science. So it talks about the spiritual applications for all the major elements of the periodic table. So for instance, this is going to be an opening for chemistry. Even though I'm using it as Bible, there is basically all forms of chemistry in here, but it's not kind of like in your face. It doesn't have like any labs or anything, but I'm thinking that what will happen is as we learn these words and these different elements on the periodic table in this year through this book, that when we do actually do a chemistry, there will be a lot more understanding and connection already to some of these elements, so they won't be as foreign. So here's the first lesson: hydrogen. Forming water. And then it says the Spirit of God moved up upon the face of the waters in Genesis 1:2. And then it talks about hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, making over 90% of it. It was discovered in 1766 by an English chemist. See, the word hydrogen comes from the Greek hydros and genes, means water forming. It is a gas, and it talks about the H2. It can create the formula with water, H2O. And so it kind of just shows a little bit of that right here. And then you can go to the next one here is helium, which is the sun, which is a gas. And so it says, the righteous will shine forth as the sun, Greek helios, in the kingdom of their Father. And then it goes into the Greek sun gods in history and in the Bible, and kind of ties into more information that's scientific about the sun and about helium. So yeah, that's what we're doing for a Bible/additional science. And then lastly, I am doing IEW for Fix-It Grammar and for our writing. Fix-It Grammar we did back in 7th grade. That really shifted our perspective of grammar. It just flowed so well with us, and then I didn't do it last year. I felt like 8th grade was just, we didn't make any progress. So I'm going back to Fix-It Grammar because I love it so much. This one is the Frog Prince. I got the teacher's manual and the student key. And of course, if you already know Fix-It Grammar, then you don't probably even need to listen to this part, but I do have Fix-It Grammar from 7th grade on my channel already that you can look. That was the story of Robin Hood. So this one is the Frog Prince, which is a different story. Again, if you haven't seen it before, this is kind of what it looks like, where you go through the checklists and you start to basically be the editor of the sentences that are used in the lesson for the day. It's really simple, but yet the repetition helps you to read a sentence and to be able to see all the different components, but not be overwhelmed by pages and pages of work. Some others' approaches to grammar has not been good for us, so that's why I'm going back to Fix-It Grammar. And then I did grab some of these little foldable charts of sorts, and this is Grammar on the Go, which is like a little cheat, if you want to call it a cheat sheet, a thing to just glance up parts of speech, the different breakdowns of clauses, phrases. It's pretty big, and it was like super cheap. It was just a couple bucks. And the mechanics of punctuation. So this is just a quick look. Instead of us having to go back in the book and find it, it's just all right here. And this one he doesn't need right now, but I went ahead and got the public speaker because I want him to start practicing things of public speaking. So this is like the structure of parts of speech, the structure of a speech, and it just kind of goes through that, memorization techniques, delivery techniques, all that. So that's a good thing. And then lastly is the portable walls for academic writing. So this is note-taking, essay models, 5 canon rhetorics, all this stuff that really isn't my thing, thesis statements, triac model, literary devices, word lists, and then sentence openers. This is super helpful. Like, that would have helped me a lot and probably given me a more positive experience in literature when I was in high school and middle school and high school especially. So hopefully this will make it easier. The blessing is that I have my mom, who's much better at the language arts than me. She's going to be available to actually do some of this and to walk alongside us, and maybe her approach may be a little bit better, or she might explain things differently. The writing series, which is the Following Narnia, Volume 2, Aslan's Country. So this is the writing lessons in structure and style. We did do structure and style before, but that's when I bought the DVDs, or that's when I bought the online course with Dr. Pudua. Mr. Pudua, Dr. Pudua, and I appreciate that that had a change up of themes, but I almost felt like some of that change up of theme was a little too overwhelming for my son and I. I know there was fiction and nonfiction in that, but it just didn't, it was just rough. And so I'm trying, last year was a complete bust on a lot of writing stuff that we tried. It just, language arts and English did not go very well last year. So I'm trying this because this is partially what we do know already. And you have your source text that you read, and then you have your keyword outlines. This is nice because they're already made for you. And then, it's because it's the Chronicles of Narnia stories, which is already something that we already have, concepts of the Narnia type stuff. It's easier to, I think, for my son and I to make connections with that. We're going to be using that. Oh, I did want to say, we are for math choosing Denison Algebra 1. Denison Algebra we did for our pre-algebra for 8th grade, and although there were some struggles, I have to say that overall it was so much better, and I found myself understanding concepts that I did not understand years ago. Now, I haven't done Algebra 1 in a long time, but I'm hoping that with the foundation laid from Mr. Denison and his great curriculum, that Algebra 1 will just follow in with some of those same concepts we already learned in pre-algebra, and we're just going to take it one day at a time. I do believe that there's a lot of confidence in me, in my son, and some areas of the math that we learned already, and in my mom, because my mom also did the algebra with us. So it was good because we were able to do it together. If there were issues, we were able to kind of talk about it and say, oh, so-and-so, like, do you understand this? And it just helped us doing it together. We're going to be doing that again this year, and looking forward to Algebra 1, because I know for me that if I understand the concepts better, then at least I can explain it to my son and help him through it as best we can. I think that is definitely it now for the review of 9th grade, and I'm looking forward to sharing these other videos with you. Make sure you like and subscribe and click the bell so you know when I release these videos, if you're interested in taking a deeper look into any of these books. And I will catch you next time here at Shine Bright Homeschool. Until then, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you later. Shine bright.